That's who we are. We also have a full-time, or we also have part-time peer advisors who work in our office during the regular school year. We're fortunate to have some with us here over the summer. Leslie is one of them, so I'll let her just briefly introduce herself. She's one of our peer advisors.
Hi everyone, my name's Leslie. I'm a fourth year. I'm a double major in sociology and political science. I'm just gonna talk about our role in the office and a little bit about the research I've conducted. So basically, we're a resource for you all as students if you're interested in doing an academic internship or a research position. So we have students who have done STEM, humanities, fine arts, all kinds of research. And we can help you get into labs based on our experience and the training we've had as peer mentors. So sometimes it's a little more approachable when you get to talk to students who have actually done the experience. A lot of our students are first generation who work in the office, and I'm pretty sure we have at least one or two teachers. I don't know, but you know, if you do want to speak to a student who has done these experiences or has done independent research, lab research, that's the resource that we are. So I did research on housing. So I was doing survey research in the west side of Santa Barbara, which is a low-income Latinx area, where basically I was doing anonymous surveys in Section 8 housing and other apartment housing on how the residents there interact with their tenants. So basically, if they've ever been evicted, what kind of conditions they've lived in, and those kinds of things. And that helps push towards policies for better rent control and better housing and more affordable access to housing in the long term. So that's the kind of research that I did. But we have people who have done research in biology, chemistry, psychology. We had a recent peer mentor who was an English major who did a lot of research. So we have a huge background on that kind of stuff. So.
Thank you. Yeah, so definitely come by and talk to us. As I mentioned, again, we're currently in 2110 North Hall, but we will be located, I don't know the exact number, but it's right next to the Transfer Student Center in the library. We'll be there in about 2 weeks. And when school starts up full time, that's where we'll be all the time. But at this point, I'm going to kind of switch things over and kind of talk about research. So how many of y'all came to UCSB because we're a top-tier research institution? A couple. How many because we're right next to a beach? More for research than the beach. Awesome. Yeah, so in case you didn't know, UCSB is one of the top-rated research institutions in the nation. And a large portion of that research is conducted by undergraduates, just because the undergraduate student population here is the biggest population of people on campus. So you outnumber the grad population by a fair amount, and the professors by quite a bit too. So what do y'all think research is? Kind of what's research to you? I promise there's really no wrong answer. Just kind of shout it out, raise your hand, whatever you want to do. What do you think research is?
Studying a topic that doesn't have like all the answers to it yet.
Studying a topic that doesn't have all the answers to it. Yeah, trying to find answers to a topic. Anyone else? Yeah.
Gathering data and you know, data not only empirical but also data that data like archives and stuff like that.
Yeah, gathering different types of data. Anything else? Yeah.
Experiments.
Experiments. Awesome. I think you covered most of it. So we actually use the Council on Undergraduate Research's definition for what research is. And so that's an inquiry, investigation, or pursuit conducted by an undergraduate student that makes an original, intellectual, or creative contribution to a discipline, area, question, challenge, or theme. So you notice this is really broad. I know when I kind of first got involved in university and heard research, I just assumed like, oh, beakers and science and flames and things like that. But kind of once you get into the classes, you really realize that research can be done in any discipline. It's not just a lab thing. We have students doing research in order to perform interpretive dance numbers. We have students doing a lot of musical research as well, kind of looking at how different songs have transgressed or different songs have changed throughout the time periods, which is really neat. So you can take your interests and combine them with your academic discipline to create a really unique contribution to that area. So we kind of like to describe research as something done by scholars. So a student, you know, your typical high school student, you go to classes, you kind of take in some information, you spit it back for a test. A scholar takes an information, kind of analyzes it critically, and takes the information, turns it out, and produces something with it. So scholars are kind of producing, adding something to the knowledge base, and a student is just kind of absorbing that knowledge. So our goal in our office is to really help transition all of you from students to scholars, which it's a good goal, and it's one that we have had some success with. So So at this point, I'm going to talk about your three main options for getting involved in research. There are a lot of different ways to get involved in research. These are just the three most common ones we see students take. But the first one would be assisting a faculty member with an existing project that they're already working on. We actually have a directory specifically for connecting students with these opportunities, but that's usually how we see students first get involved with research. It's connecting with a professor who's already doing a project. Second is working on a project that combines your interests with those of a professor. So this would be kind of seeking someone out who has similar interests to you and working together to come up with a different project. And that's slightly more advanced just because it does require you to kind of have some input there as well. But it's a really easy way to get involved with research too. Finally, we see students designing and implementing their own independent research projects under the supervision of a faculty mentor. This is usually kind of a bit more of an advanced thing. Usually students have a pretty good kind of base of research and what it is, but we do see students get involved with that as early as their first year on campus. So I would say all of these are very viable options for you all to get started with research as early as your first quarter. But I'll talk a bit more about how we have programs specifically designed with those a bit later on. But volunteering with a professor offers a lot of different benefits for you. First, you get to learn more about what research actually is. As I mentioned, I assumed it was just labs and beakers and measuring things, but research is a lot more. It's also a good opportunity to find out what type of research is good for you. There are lots of different research types going on in different departments. So psychology and brain sciences, for one, they do research in a lot of different areas. So research in that field is very, very broad. There isn't really one specific type of research going on there. There's qualitative, quantitative, a lot of sometimes they hook you up to electrodes and measure brain waves, other kinds of just questions. So there's lots of different research opportunities going on out there, and one might be a better fit for you than another. Also, working with professors, you'll find that they have different working styles. So one professor might be a better fit for you than another. So it's really important to kind of do some trial and error and find out, what working style works for you, what personality is a good match for yours, and things like that. You also get to know a professor on a different level kind of outside of the classroom, which is really huge. Studies have shown that having a mentor to kind of guide you through your undergraduate experience really makes a big difference in your overall undergraduate experience. And so it's really important to get to know your faculty mentors, get to know your advisors, your professors, and your TAs, because knowing them is going to really, really help you get more involved, help you succeed academically. And so I would say if there's one thing you do here, it's just get to know your professors and your TAs. Go to their office hours, add it to your schedule like it's a class, just attend it regularly, because it's going to help you in ways, even if you can't see it right away, it's really going to come back and help you. And the other great thing about volunteering with a professor, you also earn academic credit towards your major or degree. So all of the departments here at UCSB have what we call INT 99 or 199 RA credit. And that's credit designed to give you academic credit for working with a professor. So if you are volunteering and helping a professor on their research, you can actually apply to get anywhere from 1 to 5 units of credit for that. So that way it's not like you're just volunteering your time out of the goodness of your own heart. You're actually getting something in return for that. So it can kind of help you get those units on your way to graduation.
Jacob, can I actually pause you before we continue?
Please go ahead.
So we have about 10-ish more students joining us. So if you look around you and there's some space next to you, if you could scoot maybe a little bit that way and maybe pull some extra chairs so that way everyone can see the screen and get the most out of this. That would be fantastic. You can make some space, and if you can make space in the very back for students to just stand along the back because you're almost out of chairs. Thank you all. Sorry, you're here. Oh, I did join it. Oh, everyone's on.
My first sellout crowd. I feel so popular. Thank you. May I continue, Francesca? Okay. Summer research is also a really good opportunity for students. We had a couple of our peers who work in our office. One last summer was participating in summer research at Northwestern University. She's a psych student, and she's actually now started a PhD program out there, which she was able to kind of work towards during her summer out there, making contacts and figuring out who she might want to work with. Another one of our peers who's coming back this year is currently doing summer research in New York City. And all of those opportunities tend to be fully paid, so they'll pay for your flight, your food, and usually offer you some type of stipend while you're out there. So those are really great opportunities to do research outside of UCSB. But UCSB also has summer research opportunities here through different professors. We offer a grant for students who are doing research over the summer. So there's lots of different opportunities, but it's a really great way to dedicate a big chunk of time to doing research. You realize during the school year, your main focus is on classes. You might not always have a spare 5 or 10 hours a week to dedicate towards research. So summer is a really good time to do that. And then, as I mentioned, you can also do opportunities outside of UCSB, and you'll find those through a lot of different ways. We try to spread them as soon as we hear about them. They'll usually hit different listservs. I know you all probably get a lot of emails, but do your best to at least scan them and make sure to check and see if there's anything relevant in there to you, because that is the easiest way for us to disseminate information to you all. So some of the benefits of research for you all. You're able to work with other students and work closely with a faculty mentor. So this really helps you generate a lot of skills that are useful when you are either going to grad school or joining the workforce. You're going to be working with people in one capacity or another. So knowing how to navigate conflict or work through troubles that come up is always really important. You get to learn about issues and methods in academia and the world while applying concepts that you learned in your class. Sometimes you might be taking a class that might not seem super relevant to you. But if you have kind of a research topic as an anchor or kind of a lens through which you can look at that topic, it really helps ground everything and make it a lot easier to understand kind of how that's applicable to what you might be doing. So just having a general research topic that's kind of always in the back of your mind really does enhance all of the classes that you're in, because you're always kind of looking and seeing like, oh, I could apply this in this way, or it helps you analyze and look at the material in a different manner. Also, these kind of middle ones I think are the most important. So you're going to work on your problem solving, reading, writing, and speaking skills, as well as grow as a critical, analytical, and independent thinker. Those skills are useful anywhere. You need all of those skills, and research really does help you hone all of those and really develop them in a really great way. On a more pragmatic note, you can also get money and academic credit to do research. So if professors have money, they're usually really good about trying to pay the students. I will say the STEM areas are a lot better funded than humanities, fine arts, and social science. So they're usually able to pay their students, whereas the humanities and fine arts and social sciences tends to be more academic credit. But again, there are different grants and things like that you can apply for. We're working on a few different ways, hopefully be able to pay students through our office as well. You get to find out if research is for you, and then increase your chances of getting into a great grad school or into your first job. Research is also beneficial for faculty members. Professors like working with students. As I mentioned, you all are the biggest kind of population here on campus, is students. And so professors are here because they enjoy working with you. They can't do what they do without you students. And the great thing about it, contrary to what they might tell you, they don't know everything. So they're actually learning along with you as you're going through a research project, which is great for them because they're broadening their knowledge and also helping you explore new areas that you didn't know about. And they also get credit towards their merit. So faculty members, in order to progress to the next level of professorship, they have to hit certain achievements and things like that. And usually one of those is working with students. So by working with them, you're actually helping them kind of advance in their careers as well. So it's a very mutually beneficial relationship. So with that, I'm going to move in and talk about the programs we have offered through our office. So the first one I'll talk about is the Faculty Research Assistance Program, which we just call FRAP. And then I'll talk about the Undergraduate Research and Creative Activities Grant, which we call URCA. So FRAP is a directory that we maintain on our website of professors who are searching for undergraduate research assistants to help them on their projects. It's a really great way to get involved as early as your first year here on campus, and you earn academic credit while working with a professor. And as I mentioned, having a mentor is really important, and this is a great opportunity to start building a relationship with a faculty mentor. This is what the directory looks like. It will likely look different in the coming weeks as we're working on updating our website, but essentially it will remain the same, kind of its purpose. It will have some type of indicator for picking a major or department. If you click on one of those, it will bring up all the different listings offered within that department. This is what one looks like. So this is from Professor Aldana. He's the chair of the Chicana Studies Department. And I picked this project for a few different reasons, but all of the projects are going to have some type of contact information at the top. That's how you get in touch with the professor. They're all going to explain what the project is, what you as the undergraduate are contributing, or what your role would be as part of the project, and then the requirements. So if you look at the requirements for this one, all they're looking for is an interest or curiosity is the main requirement. They'll train you on everything else. And I think a lot of the programs or a lot of the projects listed have similar requirements. Some do require that you've taken certain prerequisite courses or that you are a major in that division. But others are just looking for an interest or curiosity because they can teach you everything else. They can't teach you how to be interested or curious about something, but they can teach you, how to put cells on a slide and cover it with glass and things like that. I would say just expressing an interest or curiosity in what's going on is going to be a really good way to get involved in research for you. And I picked this for another reason because it's a really cool sounding project. They've actually completed, this is an older project, which they wrapped up at the end of last year. But is anyone familiar with Pokemon Go? I don't know, is it an augmented reality app? So they actually designed an app kind of based off Pokemon Go that's of the campus. So it's currently available on the Android store. I don't think it's hit the Apple store just yet, but it's called Tamuyal. And so it's a way to expose K-12 students to the university, kind of offer them a tour, but it also looks into the environmental impact of the campus as well as the historical and cultural impact of the campus, just where this was Chumash land. And so it's a really neat project because they needed people, coders who could kind of do the structural kind of bones of the app. They needed designers and artists who could do kind of the AI and the visual user interface of it. They were looking for environmental studies students who could kind of do environmental impact reports of the buildings and kind of how much energy and things like that the campus uses. And they're looking for cultural and history students who could help them kind of research the change of Chumash to UCSB. So a very wide encompassing project, very interdisciplinary, and I think that's indicative of a lot of the different opportunities that you can find here at UCSB. As for who should apply, so this is currently only for students in the College of Letters and Science. So if you are a CCS student or a College of Engineering student, you can still find opportunities through the FRAP directory. It's just that professors are not able to apply for a grant if they're working with a CCS or engineering student. So usually LNS students have an easier time getting these positions. We're working to kind of broaden that, but currently it's just for anyone in the College of Letters and Science. As I mentioned, it's really good if you're trying to get involved with research. If you've already been doing research and are looking to kind of see other opportunities, it's just a good way to kind of get your pulse on get a pulse of the different projects going on here on campus. Quick how-to: basically, you just visit the FRAP directory. You find a project that you're interested in working on. Reach out to that professor, kind of inquire. Some might indicate application instructions in that requirements section. Others just want you to contact them. Our office, we don't have anything to do with the hiring. We just kind of post and update the listings. So unfortunately, we can't help you out in actually landing the job, but we're happy to look over emails that you're trying to send, work with you on a resume or anything like that. But otherwise, it's done directly with the faculty mentor themselves. Once you're accepted on the project, you just enroll in that department's 99 or 199 RA course so that you're getting academic credit for it. And then you just do the research. The professor will receive a small grant so they can get up to $350 for up to 5 students per quarter as an incentive for them to work with undergraduates. And they use that to offset any costs. If they need to send you somewhere to collect samples or to do research kind of off campus, they can reimburse you for the gas and just make sure that you aren't paying anything out of pocket for doing that research. So really great opportunity. Any questions about FRAP before I move on to URCA? Yeah.
Is the 99 RA and the 199 RA is found on gold?
You will, I think you have to get an ad code from the professor.
And then you add it.
Yeah, so it's not through Go. You do have to fill out some paperwork and just drop it off at Cheadle. But that can be done pretty much any time during the quarter, pretty much up until like the last 2 weeks or so. I think that's like the cutoff for those. I would recommend you do it as early as possible, kind of once you've been accepted into the FRAP project, just because I think after a certain deadline, they charge you a $3 ad fee. So you can save yourself $3 if you do it before that. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
Could you negotiate for a higher grant?
For a higher grant? Unfortunately, we max out at $350. Yeah. Other questions?
Is the 199 like letter grade or like pass no pass?
For sure, you can do them pass no pass. I think you can maybe do one of them for a letter grade. Like I think there's a limit. I don't know. An advisor can give you a better idea about that. The departmental advisor can let you know because I'm not sure about the logistics of that. I'm pretty sure I've heard students say that you can do it like once for letter grade and then the rest is pass no pass. But don't quote me on that. Yeah.
Do you know what division posted?
So it's just a placeholder course. So this 199 just is like a.
If the requirement is
they'll indicate that. in the requirement. So some will say, you know, have taken course 123A or something like that. So they'll indicate that. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
Does it also indicate how many units per week?
Oh, so the unit, so that you would work out with the professor. That's based on how many hours per week. So usually most departments use the equation of 1 unit is equal to 3 hours per week. So it all depends on how much work you're putting in per week, and then you'll figure out how many units you'll get. Other questions? No? Alrighty. Yeah.
If you can repeat the question, that would be helpful.
Okay, sure. So at this point, I'm going to switch gears and talk about the Undergraduate Research and Creative Activities Grant. So this is a grant that will offer you up to $750 for your own independent research project. Those funds can be used to help defray any research-associated costs. The only things that they cannot be used for would be salary. So unfortunately, you cannot pay yourself the $750 to do the research. They can't be used for any hardware or electronics. So you couldn't, you know, get a new computer or a camera or something like that with these funds. And they cannot be used to buy any furniture. So essentially, project-related consumables that once the project is finished, you know, you wouldn't have any use for these items. We see a lot of students use them to purchase books or to travel. So you can use these funds to travel. We've seen students travel to Washington, D.C., to New York City to do research out there. You can pay for the flights, lodging. If you needed to you know, drive somewhere, you can get reimbursed for the mileage. So lots of different options there. For software, where most softwares have switched to kind of a subscription-based model, you can get, you know, a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, even potentially up to a year subscription to a certain software that you might need. If you need access to Adobe Creative Cloud for something, you know, you could use these funds for that as long as it's related to the project. And it's open to any student on campus doing research. So there's a few different requirements you have to meet, but for the most part, it's open to anyone. So the general requirements that you'd have to meet, just being good academic standing. Essentially, if you log into your goal, it will indicate whether or not you're in good academic standing. I think there's a very technical thing that relates to your quarterly GPA and your overall GPA, but I don't know what that is off the top of my head. So gold should indicate whether or not you're in good academic standing. You need to be engaged or about to be engaged in your own independent research project. I say independent. We see a lot of students that start off working with a professor from FRAP, and then they will kind of take that project in a different direction. So we've had a lot of students that were working you know, in biology with a professor. They were looking at a very specific thing related to vision, and the student was like, you know, I wonder what would happen if we looked at this side of that problem. And so that's what they actually did as their independent project. So they kind of did an offshoot of a previous project or a project that someone else was working on. Obviously get permission from the professor before you do something like that, but it doesn't have to be something that you thought up from scratch. It can kind of be, as long as it's kind of your own variation of a research project, it's usually fine. And then you just need to have a faculty mentor who can supervise your project throughout the funding period. And they are required to provide a letter of support for your application. So that's usually the piece that takes the longest for this application process, is identifying and getting that mentor letter. So if you're looking to do this, I would encourage you to start talking to professors soon, just so that you can have someone ready to write that letter when the time comes. I'm assuming a lot of you are transfer students, or all of you are transfer students. So the deadline for the URCA grant is in early November, which we realize for transfer students does not give you a lot of time to meet a professor and, you know, ask for a letter of recommendation. So we actually have a transfer student research award, which is identical to the URCA grant. It just has a later deadline to give you more time to meet a faculty mentor. So same $750. The funding period switches slightly, so it would go from winter quarter all the way through to the next fall quarter. Just again, because you're kind of starting at a bit behind on that. So it gives you extra time there. And you could apply for the URCA grant if you're ready and you have someone lined up. You can apply for the URCA grant, or you could wait and apply for the TSRA. You cannot apply for both within the same academic year, though. So it would still just be one or the other, but you have two options. So if you can't get everything together in time for that URCA grant, I would say just focus more on the TSRA. Any questions about the URCA or TSRA grant? No? So we also do the Undergraduate Research Colloquium. This is a massive poster presentation that takes place every single spring. It's open to anyone doing research here on campus. It takes place over in Corin Pavilion, which is down by the USEN. We're actually going to be doing a full undergraduate research week this year, which we're really excited about. We're going to kick it off with some speakers at the beginning of the week, and we'll actually have a 2-day colloquium, so a 2-day poster presentation to accommodate more students. And then we will follow that up with the Undergraduate Research Slam Finals. So this is a really cool presentation competition. We actually have cash prizes for the winners. So the first place prize is $2,500, $2,000 for second place, and $1,500 for third place. So not too bad for 3 minutes of your time. Essentially, students have 3 minutes and 3 slides to give a dynamic presentation about their work. I describe it as a really condensed TED Talk. They're fascinating to watch. They're really fun. So even if you don't participate, I would encourage you to come down and see them, because it's really cool to see what your fellow students are doing. And so that will also be taking place in spring quarter. And then we also do the undergraduate colloquium Unbound. So this is a different presentation option. We realized a poster might not be the best method for kind of explaining what your project is, especially if you're doing a more creative activity versus, a strictly, statistical analysis or something. So this allows you to present your project using anything other than a poster. So we saw a lot of students create documentaries about the work they've done, or create some type of physical object that represented the project in some way. So there's lots of different options there. As long as it's not a poster, it can be anything. So that's really cool as well. The library actually displayed some of those in the library over the last year. Any questions about that before I switch over to academic internships? No? Cool. So at this point, gonna switch gears and talk about UC-DC and UCCS. Has anyone heard of those before? I know some of you have because you stopped by our office, but otherwise, yes, awesome. So these are 2 academic internship programs that give you the opportunity to live, intern, and study in either Washington, D.C. or Sacramento for a full quarter. The University of California owns buildings in both locations. So in DC, the building is located about 5 blocks north of the White House. It's an 11-story building, so that's where all the students live. That's where they take their classes, and they actually have enough space to have offices. They rent out some offices, and then the rest are used for actual UC-DC staff. So they have a full-time staff out there that run the program. And then in Sacramento, the building is about half a block away from the Capitol on K Street. For anyone familiar with Sacramento, it's right on K Street by the Capitol. It's not big enough to house the students, so that's just where students take their classes, and they have a small gym there for you to use kind of as a home base while you're doing your internships. But the housing options are a lot more flexible in Sacramento, so if you're from the area, you can live at home and not have to worry about paying housing fees unless your parents ask for rent, which maybe be nice and help them out there. The UC Center has an agreement with a housing complex up there, so they actually reserve a certain block of rooms for students. So some students do that. Other students find their own housing independently through Craigslist, or some look at housing options at UC Davis. So there's lots more options there. But the great thing about these programs is that you are taking UC courses, so you're still a UCSD student. You're getting academic credit for a full quarter, so you're getting at least 12 units for doing this program. So it's not like you're taking a quarter off to go and get some experience. You're actually able to get experience and stay on track to graduate. And you get to intern in the field of your choice, which is really, really cool. Get some work experience before you actually graduate. These programs are offered every single quarter, including the summer, and they're open to students from all majors. So a lot of students here, DC or Sacramento, and automatically assume this is just for political science students. That's not true at all. We see a lot of students from a lot of different majors do these programs. There's opportunities for everyone. If you're more focused on policy, I would say Sacramento is the better program for you, just because they have a really strong focus on policy in that program. And if policy isn't kind of what you're all about, DC has options all over the place in pretty much anything. But you do need to have juniors in your standing, which I think all of you don't have to worry about. You also need to have a UC GPA on record, a UCSB GPA on record. So the earliest that transfer students can apply for this program would be spring. So spring 2019 would be the earliest you could apply. But for the DC program, that deadline's coming up, I think, in like late fall quarter. So if you're interested in doing this program as early as possible, just come talk to us so we can make sure that you're all on track to do that. Sacramento has later deadlines, so I think you might be able to squeeze in for their winter program, possibly. But usually spring is the earliest you could do either of these programs. And the really great thing about both of these is that financial aid and scholarships are available for both of them. So your financial aid package goes with you. It's not like you would have to kind of pay for this all out of pocket, or go do a summer internship all unpaid during the summer and kind of fork everything out of pocket. If you do this, the financial aid is better during the school year, just because financial aid during the academic year is better versus the summer, but you can get paid all quarters. So the academic side of these, because they are academic internships, compared to the academic kind of proportion of what you're doing here at UCSB, I would say it's much, much smaller. You're only required to do one class for each of these. So it's a 4-unit class that you do. It meets once a week for about 3 hours. And then the rest of your time is spent interning. The DC program does have the option of doing an elective for an additional 4 units. But otherwise, minimum is just 4 units letter graded for a class, and you get 8 units pass no pass for the internship. The Sacramento program actually get 10 units pass no pass for the internship. So for the Sacramento program, you're looking at least 14 units, and for DC, at least 12. But again, that's a full quarter's worth of units. These are a few of the different internship opportunities that we have available. We have about 1,000 UC students that's combined from all the campuses that go through the UC-DC program over the course of a year, and probably about 500 that go through Sacramento. So you realize not all of them are interning at these 15 places. Pretty much anywhere that an internship exists in DC, it's likely that we've had a UC student in it. And the same holds true for Sacramento. We really work with you on finding out where you would want to intern and what's a good fit for you. So you aren't really limited in where you can apply, as long as it meets a few different requirements. So as long as it allows you to meet the minimum hourly or minimum weekly requirement of hours. So for DC, that's 32, and for Sacramento, it's at least 24. And as long as only 20% of your work is administrative, you should be fine to apply to that internship. You can apply for paid internships if you find them. They're few and far between, but they do exist, and you can actually get paid for the program as well. Okay, yeah, so paid internships are out there, but again, they're fewer and far more competitive, but we do see our students get those, which is great.
I just really want to drive home the point that any student can do these internships. For example, for Sacramento, if you're interested in health, public health, and health policy, they have a scholarship for $2,000 called the Health Justice Scholarship. If you are a non-traditional student, so for example, you're low-income first generation, Sacramento also has the Public Service Fellowship, which is another $2,000. And that can be applied to any student of any discipline. So there really are opportunities for finances out there. We have students who have gone to these programs and they get nice refunds, it's like they're being paid. I know UCDC has a CAPS stipend where students are paid retroactively for the work that they've done. So if you are worried about finances with these programs, sometimes it actually can even be cheaper to spend a quarter at DC or Sacramento. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So what is the deadline for this program for spring 2019?
So the deadline for spring 2019, I don't know off the top of my head. We haven't set it just yet, but it usually is around December, late November, early December. That's typically when it's done. Yeah.
Would that be for summer as well?
The summer deadline is early winter quarter. So we'll be over in the library. So yeah.
Behind the Transfer Student Center.
Yeah, I don't know the number of the building, but that's where I don't know the number of the room just yet, but yeah, over in the transfer, right by the Transfer Student Center.
Yeah, your Cal grant transfers over. If you get a Pell grant, that transfers over. UC Davis has something that's like a UCSB grant, and that transfers over. So your full financial aid package will transfer over in this program.
So as far as the benefits of these programs, there are many. I'll highlight just a few. I think the first one that students always come back really excited about is being able to contribute to change. I know being in classes is great, but sometimes you might realize, I keep turning in these papers or, doing these discussion questions, but I don't see anything happening as a result. When you're doing an internship, you are essentially a full-time staff member. You're working on really relevant issues to the company or organization where you are. You're doing real work. So we've had students that have been able to research, draft, and lobby their own bills through Congress, through the state Senate. You're really doing meaningful work, which is really great because you're taking everything that you've done here and really applying it in, I hate to say the real world because UCSB is the real world, and kind of in the working world outside of UCSB. So that's usually the biggest thing students come back with, really excited about, is just feeling like they were making a difference and actually making a difference. on kind of a more pragmatic level, so you get a lot of application experience. The students that go through these programs have no problems going through the job application process. When you're applying for internships, it's almost identical to when you're applying for jobs. You have to have a perfect resume. You have to know how to write a cover letter. You have to be able to nail an interview. And we work with students on all of those skills. So you really kind of work out all of the jitters that usually come with applying to your first job by applying to all these internships beforehand. And you also get a ton of great work experience. So I know when I was looking for my first job, every entry-level position wanted 1 to 3 years experience, which to me made no sense because how am I supposed to have at least a year experience if I've been studying for the past 4 years? So internships are a really great way to get that experience while you're still a student. Oftentimes, you know, a solid chunk of time spent interning, they'll kind of waive that first year and just, okay, you had a good internship. Great. In addition to that, networking experience is also huge. I got my first job because I heard about it through coworkers, and they all wrote letters of recommendation for me to the staff at the other organization. That's very typical of kind of how to get a job, because there's a lot of people applying to these jobs. If you know someone who can put in a good word for you, that usually goes a really long way in making your resume magically float to the top of the pile. So both of these programs have great networking opportunities built into them. There's really great alumni networks in both DC and Sacramento, and they will do professional organization meetings where they'll bring you together to connect you with alumni from the programs. So it's a really great chance to meet people that can put you in a really good position to get a job after you graduate. It's also a great opportunity to explore different career paths. So from my own personal experience, I was an international relations major and I had no idea what I could do with that. I thought maybe I could do something in politics or something kind of internationally, but didn't really know what that looked like. I've been working since I was about 15, but you know, in a grocery store and things like that, never in like a professional office. So the internship for me was a really great opportunity to really narrow down and see, you know, what is working in an office like, what types of jobs are out there in my field, and it helped me realize what I liked, and almost more importantly, what I didn't like about different things. And so that was really helpful for me to narrow down and realize, you know, I really enjoyed the administrative side of an office. Part of my internship was shadowing different members of the office and seeing how the finances work, how the comms, the communications work, the fundraising and development. And that was what I really enjoyed kind of more than the policy side of my internship. So that's what I kind of turned my focus towards when looking for a job. And it was really, really helpful for me to realize, don't waste your time applying to policy jobs. That's not what you're interested in. So this is a really great opportunity for you to do some trial and error, see what works, what doesn't, and kind of narrow down your career focus. And then finally, just a great opportunity to have some fun. Both locations are really cool. I don't know if anyone's from the Sacramento area, but every time I say Sacramento is cool and there's someone from the Sacramento area, they're like, and they laugh at me. I thought it was cool. I don't know, maybe because I'm not from California, but there's lots to do up there. It's really, really neat. And DC is really great. As I said, I lived there for about 2.5 years. You can get some really cool Instagram photos. We just pulled all these from our students' Instagrams. I would say don't be scared about going to DC in the winter. I think this guy got fancy with some filters. It's not that bad. I mean, they call their storms like Snowmageddon and things like that, but I'm from Maine. DC shuts down if they get like 2 inches of snow, whereas Maine, like 2 feet, you might get a snow day. So it's a really great place to go, both DC and Sacramento. And just really wonderful opportunities to really take what you've learned here and see what you can do with it. So that's my spiel for you all. I'll hang around. Leslie and Chris will be here if you have any questions, but I'm happy to take questions from the whole group if you have questions about anything we talked about. Yeah.
So it's not like for some, because I came late, is there any way I can find out more about the information you just shared with us? Is there on the website?
Yes. So we're on the Duels website, DUELS. So it's duels.ucsb.edu. It's Division of Undergraduate Education, College of Letters and Science. And so our programs are under the academic opportunities and the research opportunities tabs.
Do you have like some sort of reminder to let us know about due dates and then
we send out emails throughout the various listservs and things like that. We also update our social media with any.
We advertise and we have workshops in like various, like we'll have one at the ONDAS Student Center. We'll have one at the TSRA Student Center. We'll have them like in our office. You'll find them.
Yeah. Where is that? URCA, so Undergraduate Research and Creative Activities Office.
17th century.
What's your question?
You said that those programs were for all majors. Were there anything for STEM majors?
in DC and we see a lot of students. We've had some students that we had a physics student a couple years ago that went out and worked at a startup out there, kind of developing an app. So there are STEM opportunities out there. DC, I mean, there's tons in like defense contractors and things like that who are looking for STEM skills. Usually summer works out best for STEM students because of the way your classes are structured, in that, you know, you have to take A before B before C, and those are offered like fall, winter, spring. So summer tends to be the best time for STEM students to go. Other questions? No? Well, we'll hang around in case anyone has. Oh, sorry, we got a question from the internet.
Yes, so there's a question. Hello, everyone, please. Thank you. All right, so hi, is a required GPA calculated from your major or overall GPA? And how strict is that requirement? Thank you.
Yeah, so for the GPA requirement, so we say 3.0. We do have some flexibility with that. So that's an overall GPA of a 3.0. But generally, if you're between the 2.8 or a 3.0, you shouldn't have any trouble. We're usually pretty flexible on that. If you're below and are still interested in the program, I would say come talk to us. I personally, my view on GPAs is I don't put a lot of stock in them. I mean, I think you are more than just a number. You're not just your GPA. There's a lot of different things that go into a GPA. You know, personal things might come up. You might have taken a class that just wasn't a good fit for you at the very beginning, and that grade is haunting you to this day. So we look at every individual student, and we'll go through and look at your record if your GPA is kind of below what we're looking for, and see, you know, what was going on. So it's not an automatic disqualification if your GPA is not at a 3.0.
So last question, is the GPA requirement usually 3.0 for all STEM-related research?
Ooh, that's a good question. So for example, for the FRAP directory, all the professors have different requirements, and I don't know all of them. So, I mean, it really depends on the professor and what it is. I would say 3.0 is probably a pretty common one in STEM, but there are professors out there who hold a similar view to mine of that, you know, there are other factors that go into what makes a good researcher, not just their GPA. So it's kind of on a case-by-case basis.
Also, if a student is concerned about that, they can also just start their own independent project. You just have to be in good academic standing. And good academic standing is a 2.0 or above. So as long as they have above a 2.0, they can, and they're really passionate about research, they could still do independent research and get funded for it.
Any other questions? No. Well, thank you all so much for your time.